वंदे रूप सनातन रघुजुगो श्रीजीव गोपालको।
ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। गुरवे गौरचंद्राय राधिकायै तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्ण भक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः। नाम श्रेष्ठं मनमपि शचीपुत्रम् अत्र स्वरूपं रूपं तस्याग्रजम् उरुपुरीं माधुरीं गोष्ठवाचिं राधाकुण्डं गिरिवरम् अहो राधिका माधवाश्याम्। प्राप्तो यस्य प्रथितकृपया श्रीगुरुं तं नतोऽस्मि। हरे कृष्ण।
In case you need one.
Thank you. So, before we begin, I would just want to make this very clear that this is not any formal meet or anything. It's not a Srimad Bhagavatam class for the kids the way Harivilas Maharaj conducts. There it's more of Maharaj's superiority and our inferiority, but here we are all on the same platform. So if there is something that you want to ask or something that you feel you want to say, please feel free to put your hand up, but after the class, not in between the class, so that it doesn't interrupt our link. We have all heard of the Bhagavad Gita. Is there anyone who has no idea what the Bhagavad Gita is? We all have at least heard once. May not be the content, but at least the word of Bhagavad Gita, right? Good. Now, very genuinely and very honestly, how many of you all think that Bhagavad Gita is very boring or very philosophical? Put your hand up. Don't worry, I've already put my hand up, so feel free. Most of us, right? Is there anyone who loves Shrestha? You love Bhagavad Gita?
No, it's not like that, but like it's not like boring.
Okay.
It's not boring. It's just too hard to understand. Yeah.
It's too hard to understand. Okay, it's too very philosophical, right?
Yeah.
So in an hour's time, we'll be changing this mindset of ours. After this discussion, we'll start loving Bhagavad Gita. Because today, we'll not be reading Bhagavad Gita from the perspective that we are generally taught, but we'll be hearing Bhagavad Gita from the lips of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Have you heard of Vishwanath Chakravarti?
Yeah.
So for those who have no idea, Vishwanath Chakravarti is one of the predecessor acharyas. Like we have Prabhupada, Saraswati Thakur, Gaur Krishnadas Babaji, etc., 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 it goes up to Vishwanath Chakravarti, who is one of the acharyas. So today we'll be speaking on a topic that goes by the name Mysteries of Bhagavad Gita. Till now, whatever we have been taught, we'll completely reverse it and convince our mind that Bhagavad Gita is not boring, Bhagavad Gita is not philosophical, but it is actually very sweet. So in an hour's time, you'll know what I'm talking about. Okay, let's get started. There is a book by the name Bhagavatamrita Kana, which was written by Vishwanath Chakravarti. So Vishwanath Chakravarti in this book of Bhagavatamrita Kana talks a very interesting topic. We all know Krishna appeared in the jail, right? Krishna appeared in the jail, and then right after he appeared, he was taken to Gokul, Brajdham, Vrindavan. So this is as far as the appearance is concerned. But have you ever heard as to how Krishna disappeared from this world? How did Krishna leave this world? Please. Okay, start in front. Ladies first.
Did he get like shot or something?
Correct. He got shot by the archer hunter, yes. Same answers?
Yeah.
Same? Okay.
Because it mistaken the idea.
Okay. But we'll be going in depth into this pastime and we'll be seeing what Vishwanath Chakravarti has to offer. Krishna was in Dwarka. He was the king of Dwarka. And Krishna had a wife by the name Jambavati. Now Krishna and Jambavati gave birth to a son by the name Samba. Now this name is little weird, but that's how the name goes. His name was Samba. They named him Samba. I don't know why they named him, but Krishna named him Samba. No, not Sambar. Samba. Without the R. They are already meditating idli, sambar, vada. Not the sambar, it's Samba. So Krishna named him Samba. Now this Samba, like most kids, used to play with his other friends. Have you ever done pranks on our friend? We all know what a prank is, right? We all have done pranks. One moment or the other, either in school or in our devotee circle or in our home. We all have done pranks, right? This Samba, when he was small, he was also interested in pranks. So once it so happened that he was playing with his friends and there were a group of sages who were passing by. Now this guy is very hilarious, Samba. If you want to play a prank, play with your friends, but never play pranks with sages. But sadly, no one taught Samba this philosophy. So when the sages were walking, he decided to play a prank. Now, just hear the prank. It's hilarious. The sages were walking, and Samba with his friends goes up to him, stuffs something in his tummy, and goes and tells the sages, "Oh sages, I am pregnant. I am pregnant. Please tell me whether it's a he or a she." He was just 8 or 9. Maybe Shivani's age or whoever. Not that she did the prank. Not that she did the prank, but okay. I'm sorry. Is anyone 8? 7? Okay. What's your name?
No, I'm not.
What?
I'm not 8.
What is your age?
12.
You are also 10? Who is 8 then? No one is 8? Okay, Samba was 10. So Samba goes up to the group of sages and says, "Hey sages, I am pregnant. Please tell whether it's a he or she." And all the friends, they were like giggling and laughing with each other. Now they played a prank. Now comes the best part. They played a prank. Any guesses whom they played the prank on? Play the prank on anyone, but don't play the prank on Durvasa Muni. They played the prank on Durvasa Muni. Play with anyone, but don't play it with Durvasa Muni. We all know how he is an expansion of Lord Shiva. So Shiva is called as Ashutosh. He gets pleased very fast. and he gets angry really fast. So Durvasa was an incarnation of Shiva. So these guys were playing a prank and Shiva got to know. Durvasa Muni got to know. And he said, Acha, you are pregnant. They said, yes, we are pregnant. Please tell whether it's a he or she. Durvasa Muni smiled and said, it's not a he, it's not a she, but it will be a lump of iron. You will give birth to a lump of iron. From your body, a lump of iron will come, and this iron will destroy the whole of Yaduvamshas. Now, Krishna's dynasty is called as the Yaduvamshas. Krishna is a Yaduvamshi. So, all of Krishna and the Pandavas, etc., they come in the Yaduvamsha dynasty. So, Durvasa cursed Samba and said, because you played a prank on me, I curse you. I curse you that you will, from your body, an iron piece will come out, and that iron will be the cause of the destruction of the whole of Yaduvamshas. Now, the kids were like really frightened. They were looking at each other and they looked at Durvasa and said, we just played a prank. Why are you being so serious? We just played a prank. And he said, well, you played a prank, I played a prank on you. That's it. Scores are settled. I've cursed, I can't take the curse back. The kids didn't know what to do and Durvasa just left. We live in this world of 2G and 3G and 4G. Durvasa lives in the world of DG. His curse is so fast, even before you could say anything, he pronounces the curse. It's very fast. Not the 3G and 4G of this world, it's DG. Not the DJ, but it's DG. So he cursed and he left. Now the kids had no idea what to do. So they went to the king. And the king was Maharaj Ugrasen. So they went to Ugrasen and they narrated the whole story that such and such thing happened. We played a prank and he cursed and now we have no idea what to do. Ugrasen Maharaj said, don't worry. Durvasa always curses, don't worry. I have a solution for it. What is the solution? Ugrasen Maharaj said, take that piece of iron, file it nicely. We know what is filing? When you nicely... Sorry? Yes. So when you file, there are like small particles of iron that comes up. So he said, file it nicely till the time it's powdered down to small iron particles. And take those iron particles, don't file it completely. File it, but the last piece of iron that is there, take the iron filing and the last piece of iron, go take both of them and put it in the ocean. So now the kids were small, so they just followed the king. So they took the iron filing, took the piece of iron, went to the ocean, dropped it in the ocean. And now they were convinced everything is solved. So the kids took the iron filing, the powdered pieces, and the last piece of iron, went and put it in the ocean, and they were happy. Now, the interesting part. By the will of Providence, what happened? That last piece of iron that fell into the ocean was eaten by a fish. It got eaten by a fish. So, the last piece of iron is eaten by the fish. The fish is caught by the fisherman. Fisherman comes, does his daily duty, catches the fish. After the fish comes out, it's killed. So he cuts the fish, and inside he sees a small piece of iron. Now he starts thinking to himself, I can sell the fish and make money, but what should I do with a piece of iron? I have nothing to do with it. Interestingly, he had a friend who was a hunter. So he went and told his hunter friend, he said, my dear friend, I have this small piece of iron. I have no use out of it, but maybe because you are into hunting, maybe you can use it. So this guy said, okay. So the last piece of iron, the fish ate it. It later was caught by the fisherman, and finally it went to the hands of the hunter. Now, the pieces of iron filings that fell into the water, they came up to the surface of the water, and as we have seen in the ocean, the water comes to the shore, goes back, comes to the shore, goes back. So when the ocean water came to the shore, these iron filings also came to the shore. And every time the water touched those iron filings, they were getting nourished. Like, if suppose there is a plant, and every day you put water to the plant, what happens in due course? It grows. Exactly. This is the same that happened here. The iron filings came to the shore, water got touched with it, and it was increasing in size, increasing in size, increasing in size. And in no time, they became huge iron blades on the shore of the ocean. Now, all the Yaduvamshas, because Durvasa had cursed, so now his curse has to come true. Because Durvasa had cursed, all the Yaduvamshas started to quarrel and fight with each other for every small petty thing. You know, sometimes it happens. There's some misunderstanding with our friend. We think we are right, she thinks she is right. Maybe both are right, maybe both are wrong. But we don't agree to ourselves that we are right. Right? It happens. It happens with everyone. This is exactly the same that was happening with the Yaduvamshas. They were fighting with each other. And in due course, it so happened that the fight increased and they came to the ocean shore and they were fighting. The fighting intensity increased so much that they picked up the iron blades and started killing each other. They picked up the iron blades and just ripped apart each other, and in no time all the Yaduvamshas were dead. Fallen, dead to the ground. It was an ocean of blood. But there was one Yaduvamsha who was still alive. That was Krishna. Now when the other Yaduvamsha started fighting, are we all there in the story?
Yeah. We did Samba there?
Sorry?
Did Samba there?
Is Samba there?
Did Samba died?
I didn't.
She's asking if Samba died.
I'll come to that.
We didn't go along with that.
So,
With blood on it?
no, he didn't. So I'm coming to that. As I said earlier, we'll keep the questions and clarifications to the end so that we don't disturb the link. So when the Yaduvamsha started fighting, Krishna got to know, and Krishna decided to go to a place by the name Prabhat Kshetra. He went to that place, and the reason for him to go to that place was he wanted to do some yajna, so that the senses of the Yaduvamshas come in place. In our temple, we have Srivas Gauranga Prabhu who always keeps doing the yajna. So in similar way, Krishna wanted to do the yajna. But don't worry, he didn't come to Srivas Gauranga Prabhu, he went to some other Pandit. He went there to Prabhat Kshetra and he was doing the yajna was done. In the meantime, Krishna got this news that all the Yaduvamshas are dead. So Krishna was sitting on the banks of the ocean and thinking to himself, what just happened? All the Yaduvamshas are gone. And Krishna was sitting there he was sitting this way. So his soul was outside and Krishna was sitting. And there was the hunter friend. So he interestingly came to that place. And with that iron that was there, he would file his arrows so that the arrows become more sharp. So he would sharpen the arrows, and Krishna was sitting. And this guy came and he was standing behind the tree, and from a distance he seeing Krishna's soul, he thought as if it was a deer, the face of a deer. And he thought the deer is sipping water from the ocean. If you go for a long drive, and it's a hot sunny day, from a distance when we go on the highway, sometimes we feel that ahead there is a pool of water. Does it happen? Mirage. But when we go there, is that the reality? No. So even our eyes get confused. So hunter is no exception. So seeing, and he was seeing not the road and water, but he was seeing Krishna's feet. Yeah. So anyone can be illusioned. And it is said Krishna's every part of the body is like a lotus. Namo Pankaja Nabhaya, Namo Pankaja Maline, Namo Pankaja Netraya, Namaste Pankaja Angraya. Everything about Krishna is lotus. His navel, his eyes, his body, his actions, everything is very sweet about Krishna. So he saw the soul and he thought maybe it's a deer. This deer is sipping water. Now he being a hunter, he picked up his arrow, sharpened the arrow, and he shot. And within a fraction of a second, the arrow just pierced into Krishna's feet, and Krishna was bleeding. This hunter came running there. And so the hunter came running there. And when he saw, it was Krishna. And he was repenting so much, he almost had tears in his eyes. And he looked at Krishna and said, Krishna, what just happened? Why did I shoot my arrow on you? I thought it was a deer. Please forgive me. Krishna said, don't worry. So, but this hunter would not accept this. Now, sometimes it so happens we say something and we don't get a perfect explanation. So we want to know, why did this happen? Why do like bad things happen to good people? This is the common question that's asked. So hunter was also, he was very keen to know, why did he shoot? So Krishna said, don't worry. And Krishna said, I have a story for you. Now, so this was part 1 of our discussion. Keep it in the back of your head. Now we go to a next story that Krishna is narrating to the hunter. We are all ready? We are all on the same page? Now Krishna is narrating. Krishna said, in my previous incarnation, I was Ram. And hunter, you were Vali. Have you heard of Vali? Oh yes. So the hunter was Vali in his previous incarnation and Krishna was Ram. Now there is a very fascinating thing about this Vali. Vali is a monkey. And it is said he is so powerful that anyone who comes in front of Vali, their strength reduces by 50%, Vali's strength increases by 100%. Now for example, Bhavik comes in front of Vali. His strength will reduce by 50% and Vali's strength will become 200%. Very soon his strength will become 25, 400, 12.5, 800 and no time he's dead. So Vali was a very, very powerful guy. No one could stand in front of him. You know, in the month of Kartik, it's considered the most auspicious month. And devotees take different types of austerities. Some want to sleep on the bed, on the floor. Some want to sleep on the floor. Some don't want to eat sweets. No, we have heard time and again. Just imagine it's the month of Kartik and we have decided we should not eat sweets. It's like a austerity. And a gulab jamun is brought in front of us. You look at the gulab jamun is looking at you. Your strength becomes 50%, gulab jamun becomes 200%. Your strength becomes 25%, 400%, and in no time the gulab jamun is in your mouth. True? We think that no, I will not eat gulab jamun, I will not eat this sweet. But that gulab jamun becomes so strong in just about 5 minutes that it's inside our mouth. The same thing would happen with Vali. Anyone who would come in front of him, Vali would just devour him into pieces. Now he being a monkey, monkeys are very restless. You see in Vrindavan, those who have been to Vrindavan, they just keep jumping from one tree to another. So Vali was no exception, just jumping from here and there. But even though he was a monkey, he would do his Gayatri. He was a Brahmin monkey. Very different. He was a Brahmin monkey. So he would do his Gayatri. His style of doing Gayatri was very different. For those parents who are initiated, if our father or mother, if they are Brahmanically initiated, we have seen they do Gayatri. And they sit at one place and they do Gayatri. But Vali being a monkey would do Gayatri in a very different style. His style of doing Gayatri was, he would say one mantra in one ocean, say the second mantra, jump to another ocean, say the third mantra, jump to a third ocean. He would jump oceans and keep saying one mantra. That was his style of saying Gayatri. Very different, very unique. Ravana had a problem with Vali. They had crossed. In Hindi, they say Chhattis Kakra. I don't know whether we all have heard. But it means both have a friction against each other. When two people don't like each other, it's like, it's real friction. So Ravana and Vali had real friction against each other. And Ravana decided, when this guy is doing his Gayatri, I am going to attack him. Because that's the time he is very busy in saying his mantra. So that's the right time to go and attack him. So Vali was there, I mean in the ocean, waist deep, and he's saying his mantras. And Ravana from behind comes and attacks. Now Ravana is a very foolish character. It's generally said, if you want to attack, you attack from ahead. You don't attack from behind. So, but he attacked from behind. Now Vali's strength was so much, he was saying the mantras, Ravana attacked from behind. Even before Ravana could realize, Vali's tail wrapped up Ravana. And with Ravana and his tail, he was jumping from one ocean to another ocean. Ravana thought, he said, Arey Baba, please give me some respect. I am the king of Lanka. You want to capture me, that is fine, but at least capture from ahead. This is so shameful, you're capturing me from behind. And that too, just jumping from one ocean to another. Show at least some respect. But Vali was a monkey. He wrapped Ravana around his tail and was jumping from one ocean to another. That is the power of Vali. He was very strong. Vali had a brother by the name Sugriv. Now Sugriv had signed a pact with Ramchandra. When Mother Sita got kidnapped, Ram and Sugriv came together and they decided that Sugriv will help Ram find Mother Sita and Ram will help Sugriv fight the battle against Vali, because Vali was not a good guy. He would have problems with everyone. Being the king of the monkeys, he would dictate and dominate. He was the monkey form of Hitler. He would dictate and dominate continuously. So then, they signed the pact, and before Sugriv could help Ram, Sugriv said, Ram, first you help me. This guy is causing a lot of problems. His own brother is saying he's causing a lot of problems, please help me. And Ram said, okay, don't worry, I'll help you. Ram said, go to Sugriv and challenge him for a battle. Now, Sugriv was like this, and Vali was he was Arnold Schwarzenegger, like a 6-pack or an 8-pack. He was very powerful, and Sugriv was nothing in front of Vali. And we have already seen Ravana being wrapped up in the tail. So you can imagine how powerful Vali is. So Sugriv goes, and outside Vali's cave, he says, Vali, come out! I want to challenge you for a battle. It's like almost going to Yamaraj and saying, Yamaraj, did you forget me? No one goes to Yamaraj and says, take me away. It's Sugriv challenging Vali is like that. So Vali, from inside the cave, he heard that Sugriv is challenging him. And he told his wife, I think this guy is drunk. He's challenging me for a battle. He knows how strong I am. He's surely drunk. So Vali came outside. And Vali said, what happened? Sugriv said, I want to challenge you for a battle. He said, okay. Even before Sugriv could do anything, Vali just punched him left, right, just black and blue. Now interestingly, before this, Ramchandra promised him that you go and invite him for a battle, I will stand behind the tree and I will shoot the arrow. So that's why Sugriv had the confidence, because Ramchandra was there with him. But Sugriv went, Vali came out, Vali just bashed him left and right. He went with a monkey face, came with the face of a Jagannath. Eyes big, black completely destroyed. And he came to Ramchandra and said, my lord, what is this? You said you will protect me. So Ramchandra looked at him and said, all this while I thought Sugriv was punching Vali. That's why I kept my bow and arrow to the side and I was clapping. When Sugriv heard this, he said, my lord, you kept the bow and arrow to the side and you were clapping. That's why he was clapping on my face. What is this, my lord? You promised. What is this? So Ramchandra said, okay, don't worry. He called Lakshman. What happened? Yeah, Ramchandra was clapping there, Vali was clapping in Sugriv's face. So Ramchandra said, don't worry. He called Lakshman and said, Lakshman, the garland that you have, take the garland and put it around his neck. So that when you again go for a battle, I know, okay, this is Sugriv. The one with the garland is Sugriv, one without the garland is Vali. So I know whom to shoot. So Lakshman took his garland and garlanded Sugriv. And now Sugriv again went for a battle. This time when he went for a battle, Ramchandra was standing behind the tree and he just shot the arrow. And the arrow went and pierced the chest of Vali. Vali just, I was about to say Valley. Valley. That's like the American pronunciation, Valley. Sugriv and Valley. So Ramchandra from behind the tree shot the arrow and it went inside. And one arrow was enough to make Wali fall to the ground. And Wali fell down. And he removed the arrow. The arrow had the name Dasharath Nandan Shri Ram. He saw. And then Ram came outside. And he said, Wali looked at Ram and said, "My lord, I didn't know you were a coward. You are good at archery, but why do you stand behind the tree and shoot? That's the way cowards do. I thought you are Dasharath Nandan's son. You have to be powerful. Why are you like a coward standing behind a tree? And first of all, why did you even kill me? What wrong have I done?" So Ram said, "There is a reason. You are being in the kingdom are not following the rules and regulations properly. You are causing trouble to everyone. And I, being the servant of the king, it is my duty to give you punishment. So that's why I shot you." So Wali said, "Okay, but why did you shoot behind the tree? You could have come ahead, we could have fought. Why did you shoot behind the tree?" And before that, Wali had put a trump card in front of Ram. He said, "My dear Lord, you say I am not behaving properly, but dharma and adharma is meant for human beings. I am a monkey. What dharma and adharma do monkeys have? Animals don't have dharma and adharma. It's only for the human beings." So he said, "My lord, I am a monkey. So your logic is not true." So Ram said, "Acha, you are a monkey." Ram said, "If you are not being a citizen of the king, are not following the rules and regulations properly, then I, being the servant of the king, I have the right to punish you. But if you say you are a monkey, then oh Wali, I am a hunter." And the hunter always shoots from behind the tree. So when Wali heard this explanation, he said, "Theek hai, I am convinced." Now there is another question. Ramachandra, Lord Ram, could have garlanded, Lakshman could have taken his garland and garlanded Sugriv before. So Sugriv asked this question to Ram, "My dear Lord, why did you do? You could have garlanded me the first time." Ram said, "There is a reason." What is the reason? He said, "When for the first time my brother and I, that is Ram and Lakshman, when for the first time we came to see you, you greeted me, but you did not give any importance to Lakshman. You made him to stand. You gave me a place to sit, but Lakshman was standing. And Lakshman is not different from Balaram. And Balaram means Guru Tattva. So Ramchandra said, you did Guru Aparad. And if you have done Guru Aparad, that means you have to pay the price. So that is why the first time I didn't react anything, because you had done Guru Aparad. So Vali had to punch you so that it gets nullified. When it is nullified, Lakshman garlands you. When he garlands you, that's a form of Guru showering mercy. And when there is mercy, only then I can protect." So Ramchandra, to his pastime, was teaching, even though he is Bhagavan, if someone offends a Guru, someone offends a Vaishnava, even the Lord cannot protect. This is a clear statement from the scriptures. Even if Krishna is there on our side, but we offend a devotee, if we offend Guru, if we offend superiors, there is no rescue. Even Krishna cannot help. And only clapping will take place in our case. So, this story, Krishna was telling the hunter and said, "So don't worry, you shot me from behind a tree, but in the previous yuga, I shot you from behind a tree." So from this pastime, Krishna or Ramchandra is teaching three principles. First thing, the word of Durvasa Muni came true, that the Yaduvamsha is getting destroyed, because he had cursed. Second being, Krishna wanted to show the world the law of karma. Even if you are Bhagavan, law of karma strikes. Krishna in his previous age was Ram and he shot the arrow, but in the next age the hunter came back and he shot the arrow. Krishna is teaching the world, whatever you do, you have to reap that. Krishna, from this pastime, he is teaching that karma acts for everyone. If a sadhu curses, that will also act. Law of karma will also act on every single person. No one is an exception. We were earlier mentioning about Durvasa Muni. Durvasa Muni gets angry very fast and gets happy very fast. Once it so happened that Durvasa Muni was passing through a place, and Srimati Radharani was very small. She was about 4 or 5. And she was playing with the mud. And Durvasa Muni was passing by. She was playing with the mud and she saw Durvasa Muni. She made a mud laddu. And she gave and very sincerely, innocently went to Durvasa and said, "Oh Durvasa, I have made a laddu. Can you taste and tell me how it is?" Now that is very risky. Even though she is Radharani, that's risky. Huh? It's a mud laddu, and that too to Durvasa Muni. So she met the mud laddu, went to Durvasa and offered, and very sweetly, 4 or 5 year old girl, she said, "Durvasa Muni, can you taste and tell me how it is?" So what?
No, you know like the little Krishna TV show? There's like a little Radharani in it. And she's so cute.
I trust you. So this was the real Radharani. So Radharani made a mud laddu and she gave it to Durvasa. And the moment Durvasa took it in his hand, the mud laddu transformed into a real laddu. Because the laddu was offered by Srimati Radharani. Even though externally she made a mud laddu, when she offered it with love, it transformed into a real laddu. And Durvasa Muni ate, and it was so tasty. Durvasa Muni was saying, "I have never had a laddu like this. This is so sweet and so tasty." And he blessed Radharani. He said that anyone who eats whatever is prepared by you will never fall ill. Durvasa Muni blessed Radharani and also blessed her with this benediction that I bless you that you will never repeat any dish. If you make a dish, you will never repeat that dish. You will have so much variety in your cooking that there will be no repetition. So Radharani has these 2 boons that anyone who eats from her hand will not fall ill and she does not repeat her cooking. So when Mother Yashoda got to know that Radharani has this boon, she immediately called Radharani and said, "Why don't you come and cook for my Krishna? Krishna is so small, why don't you come and cook for him so that he doesn't fall ill?" So Srimati Radharani every day would walk from Barsana to Nandagram and cook for Krishna and again go back.
Wait, but she's 5. How could she like cook?
Well, she's Radharani. She's Radharani.
Oh.
If a mud laddu can transform into a real laddu, can she cook?
Yeah, that's true.
If she can appear from a lotus, can she not cook?
Yeah.
So she's Radharani, she can do anything. What? Okay. So Radharani has these 2 benedictions, and then she would go from Nandagram to Barsana and back. Barsana to Nandagram and then back. So this is Durvasa Muni. Gets pleased very fast, gets angry very fast. So this was part 2 of our discussion. So first we discussed about the curse that Durvasa did to Samba. Yeah, without an R. And second, we discussed about why Krishna was shot by that arrow, and we went to the pastime of Ram, Sugriv, Vali that Krishna narrated to the hunter. So this was part 2. Keep this again in the back of your head. We go to another part. Back to our favorite hero. Who is he?
Samba.
There is another hero.
Salmar?
Durvasa. Back to our Durvasa Muni.
Did Samba die in the first part?
No. Oh my God.
So Durvasa Muni called up Krishna. He spoke to Krishna and he said, Krishna was in Dwarka and Krishna was there with Rukmini. So he told Krishna that, Krishna, I am coming for prasad. Can you prepare something? So Krishna said, okay, and he told Rukmini. And Rukmini prepared everything. And then he again called up Krishna and said, I am not coming. So she had prepared 56 items only to hear that Durvasa is not coming. First he calls up and says, I am coming for prasad. Then she prepares 56 items. Then he's calling and saying, I am not coming. And Krishna was like, he was getting angry, but he couldn't do anything because he knew Durvasa could curse. So Krishna was like, just tolerate. He was telling Rukmini also, don't do it, just tolerate. And he said, no. Night, 12 o'clock. There's a knock at the door. Krishna opens. It's Durvasa again. So Krishna looks at Durvasa and says, I thought you said you're not going to come. He said, yes, that was the earlier plan, but now I'm feeling hungry, so again I came back. And when Rukmini heard, she was like, what the hell, there is no prasad. All the prasad is done because Durvasa said he's not coming. I distributed it to everyone. There's no prasad. But she couldn't say this to Durvasa because she knew if she says this, curse is ready. Durvasa is always ready to curse. She didn't say, but she, through her eyes, she looked at Krishna and said what to do. Krishna was also in a dilemma. He didn't know what to do. So Krishna said to Durvasa Muni, yes Durvasa, you can come inside. Durvasa said, I don't want to have the whole prasad, I just want to eat kheer. Tell Rukmini to make kheer. He was a very demanding sadhu. Unlike the sadhus of this day, he was a very demanding sadhu. And no one would say no to him because they know he's always ready to curse. So he demanded, he said, I want to eat kheer. So Rukmini went inside. Night 12 o'clock, she's making kheer. And she made kheer. And she came and offered it to Durvasa. Durvasa said, I want 2 pots.
Oh my god.
So Rukmini is getting like really angry, but she's looking at Krishna. Krishna saying, please tolerate. We don't want any more curses from this guy. So she goes again, she prepares 2 pots. And then she gives. And then Durvasa says, come outside of the palace. So they go outside the palace. Night 12 o'clock, she prepares kheer. She prepares 1 pot, then this guy says 2 pots, she prepares 2 pots, then he's saying, I don't want to eat, you just come out. So Krishna and Rukmini, night 12 o'clock, are standing outside the palace with each holding 1 pot of kheer. And Durvasa Muni says, take the kheer and smear it on your body. Yes, I know it sounds weird, but this was Durvasa Muni. He said, smear it on your body. Rukmini was like,
No, it's okay, I'll ask my question.
so Rukmini was thinking, what is this guy saying? It's 12 at night. I am cooking for, first of all, I cooked 56 items for this guy. Then he says, I'm not coming. Then night 12 o'clock, he knocks the door. And then he says, I want to eat. I make kheer. He says, I don't want 1 pot, I want 2 pots. I prepare 2 pots. Then he says, I don't want to eat again. Then he calls us out. And then he says, smear it on your body. They had to do it. So Krishna and Rukmini were biting their teeth, but they started smearing. Yes, that way. They started smearing. They smeared it on their whole body. Now it doesn't end here. Now Rukmini said, now Krishna was Dwarkadish, so he had chariots and horses. Durvasa told Krishna, release all the horses. Just the chariot, but release all the horses. Night 12 o'clock, can you imagine? They are sleepy and this guy is not allowing them to sleep.
And then with the kheer and everything.
With all the kheer, yes.
Wait, why?
I'll come to that. Why? I'll come to that. He's a very interesting, just keep this in mind, Durvasa is a very interesting guy. If you listen to him, he'll be your friend. If you don't, Gaur Premanande. Then you are your own savior. So, he tells Krishna, release all the horses. So Krishna goes and releases all the horses. So they think that maybe he needs the chariot. He releases all the horses. And Durvasa calls Rukmini and says, come here. Come here. She says, okay, what happened? Durvasa climbs on the chariot and tells Rukmini, start pulling the chariot. She was like, what? Night 12 o'clock, I do so many things for you. You are still not happy with me. And then you say, release the horses. And if you want to go somewhere, go with the horses. Why do you want me to pull? So he was like, no, that is my desire. So Rukmini with kheer on her body starts pulling the chariot. And you can imagine, if you see the front page of Bhagavad Gita, the chariot is so huge. Even without the horses, it is huge and very heavy. And for a lady to pull, it's very difficult. Even though you're Rukmini. So she starts pulling and Krishna is looking, but Krishna cannot do anything because he knows this he knows Durvasa's past. If you want to know more about Durvasa, read Canto 9, the pastime of Maharaj Ambarish. You will know how special this personality Durvasa is. So if you want to know about Durvasa read Antonine, Pastor Ambarish Maharaj. So she starts pulling, 9-12 o'clock, she's pulling. And for about good 10-15 minutes she pulls and she's sweating. And then Durvasa says, okay, stop. She stops and he gets from his chariot. And then Durvasa tells Rukmini and Krishna, I am very happy. I am pleased. As I said earlier, if you please him, it's good for you. So Krishna and Rukmini pleased him by doing everything, by keeping their mouth shut. So Durvasa Muni said, I am pleased. I am going to offer you a boon. Krishna was like, okay, what is the boon? So, no. The boon that Durvasa Muni offered to them was, hear this very carefully, the boon that Durvasa Muni offered Krishna and Rukmini is he told, Krishna and Rukmini, wherever you all have smeared kheer on your body, that place will be invincible. No one can touch you in that place. Rukmini had smeared kheer all over her body, so she got the blessing that she will be invincible. But Krishna, you smeared kheer all over your body but left the soul. Krishna smeared everything but left the soul. So Durvasa said, Krishna, you are vulnerable when it comes to the soul. I cannot guarantee.
Or can you just quickly
He has already given the boon. As I said earlier, curse once given cannot be taken back. Boon once given cannot be taken back.
No, but you're just taking the food back. You're just like putting the key.
No, it's already pronounced. So now there's no change.
That's so sad.
That's so sad. Yes. But even though he was Krishna didn't argue anything. Krishna said, okay. So now Krishna's soul was vulnerable. So this brings us to the third part of our discussion. When the hunter shot why it was the soul. Why not any other part? Because Krishna had to leave this world. And if there was any other part, Krishna is invincible because he has Durvasa's blessing. But the soul is the only part where he is vulnerable. So by the will of Krishna, the hunter shot the arrow. And it was right on the soul. So it was all Krishna's planning. Even though soul was there, he got confused because he thought it's the deal. Because the whole planning of Durvasa and Krishna and everything was there. It took place in that way. So he shot the arrow. So now again, from this third part, Krishna is teaching the world. Durvasa's first curse of the Yaduvamsha getting destroyed got fulfilled. Krishna taught the law of karma to the world. And the third, Durvasa's benediction to Krishna that his soul is vulnerable again got fulfilled through this pastime. Right? Now we go to our last very interesting part. This is a real story which happened 500 years back, and Vishwanath Chakravarti narrates this story. This happened during his time, so around 1500 to 1600, and it's a very interesting story. Vishwanath Chakravarti says, there was a family, husband, wife, 2 children, and the whole family were excellent magicians. Do we love magic? Is there anyone who follows magic or loves magic or does know any American who does magic? Have you all heard of David Blaine, the magician? You heard? For those who are not aware, David Blaine is an excellent magician. Like if you have time, I know it's not spirituality, but when you have time, go and see his magic. You will be blown away. His magic is like insane magic. He's an American, does street magic, and it's too good. So now, this was a pastime that took, I wouldn't say a pastime, but this is a story that took place 500 years back. Husband, wife, 2 children, all are great magicians. And they would perform magic for the king and the queen. So every day they would come and perform some magic. So once they came, they performed nice magic. It would so happen that they would perform magic and the wife would walk on the tightrope. We have seen in India they walk on the tightrope with some pot on their head, and sometimes they would do like different dances. So she would do different dances, and the kids would like clap, and the husband would play mridanga or drum or whatever. And then they would do some magic. So once they were doing like this, and the king and queen were very happy, and the queen got so happy that she took her gold necklace and gifted this lady. And she said, I'm very happy, you keep this. You pleased me, so this gold necklace is for you. Because they were the king and queen, they could afford to give a gold necklace. So she got. Now she got the gold necklace, but children were like about 13 or 14, not 9 or 10. So they were about 13 or 14. And when they saw the gold chain, they were like very fascinated. And both children, they started fighting with each other, saying, I want the chain. Another guy said, I want the chain, I want the chain, I want the chain. Fighting back and forth. And because they were magicians, both of them had kitchen knife in their waist. And they were fighting so much that they picked up the knife and just killed both each other. And they died. This is a real story, and they died.
Wait, they would just stab each other at the same time?
One guy stabbed.
But like if one dies, then how can you
They
stab
both
each other?
they stab and the other one just throws them.
I am not into FBI, so I have no details on all this. No CID, no FBI, but they killed each other. They took knife and they just stabbed each other, and both of them died. Now this is a real story. It's not a make-up story. It's a real story. They are discussing a different story behind. So they both stabbed each other, and both the guys, both the children, they died.
Wait, in the king's court?
In the king's court, in front of the king and queen, and the king and queen were looking at each other. What just happened? And when the mother saw this, she thought, both my children died. What is the use of me living? And she took that knife, she stabbed herself. And the husband saw. What?
Romeo and Juliet.
No one else.
Okay, the perverted reflection. So she stabbed herself, she died. And the husband, he was thinking, my wife died, my both children died, what's the use? Why the hell should I even live? He committed suicide as well. Within a fraction of 10 seconds or 10 minutes, you could say 10 minutes, it would be the right estimation. 10 minutes, all the family were in a pool of blood in front of the king and queen. The king and queen were looking at each other and they were thinking, what just happened? They performed so beautifully, and I offered them this necklace, and then they started fighting. The children started fighting against each other. They killed, the mother killed herself, the father died, and everyone is gone. What just happened? And the whole assembly were like, they were perplexed. And as you see in India, for the Hindus, they cremate the body. So the king, being the king, he took the body of all four and they set fire and they did the last rites. And even after the king came back, he was thinking to himself, what happened? They were so nice in their work, they would dance and they would do all those things. Why did they do like this? And he was feeling pity, and the queen was feeling even more pity because she had given the necklace. After 1 month, the king gets a letter. He opens up the letter. He gets the letter through USPS. So he opens up the letter. He reads the letter, and the letter reads, My dear king, hope you're doing well. In our last visit, we did an act for you, and your wife gave us a jewelry in the form of necklace. What about the present for our second act? The king was reading, and then he wrote down, yes, all four of us are still alive. This is the address. Come with your whole entourage to see for yourself. The king was like, what? I thought they were dead. I myself did the last rites for them. How is it possible that they are alive? So king immediately went to that place. When he reached that place, he reached that address, and as children were playing outside, the wife was making chapatis inside, and when he knocked the door, the husband opened and said, My dear king, welcome, we have been waiting for you. The king was like, how is it possible? It is a real story. No cooking up. Vishwanath Chakravarti gives it, so you can believe it. It's scary, yes. So the king looks at the husband, the wife, the children, and all of them are perfect. Not even a scratch in their body. So king says, how is this possible? You all died in front of us. I did the last rites. How is it even possible? The king smiled and said, well, that's why we are called the magicians. We are magicians for a reason. Something that you cannot do, we can do it. That's why the world calls us magicians. And then they got the present for the second gift. Now Vishwanath Chakravarti says, this is a real story that took place 500 years back. Now I will tell you a story that took place about 50 to 60 years back. Now this is not given by Vishwanath Chakravarti, but this is a true story that took place in India. Has anyone heard of Indian magician by the name P.C. Sarkar? You have heard? P.C. Sarkar? Great. Really, or did you just put your hand up?
I did.
You have heard about P.C. Sarkar? Okay, great. No one has heard of. She has heard of P.C. Sarkar? Really?
She was learning some tricks, magic tricks, from YouTube and all. So they sent it with our cousins. So they said, so we have a PC Sarkar in our family.
Oh,
So that's how it came.
okay.
She's not seeing the...
Okay. So P.C. Sarkar was one of the most famous Indian magicians. He would do magic during the time of the British. When British were ruling India till 1947, he would do magic. Now the British were like controlling India. So once they arranged for a show of P.C. Sarkar and they told him, come and perform the magic show at 4 o'clock. So P.C. Sarkar said, okay, because that was his bread and butter. So all the officials came nice in suit and everything, blazer and etc. And they just came and they sat down. 4 o'clock, 4:15, 4:30, 4:45, 4:55, and it's 5 o'clock and the British officials were fuming. This guy is still not there. They were fuming. Why is this guy not there? Doesn't he know the value of our time? They were looking at each other and they were like really very angry. When P.C. Sarkar came, they just blasted P.C. Sarkar and said, what do you think you are? We are the British officials. How can you be 1 hour late? Don't you know the value of time? We asked you to come at 4 o'clock. It's 5. How can you be so late? And what about your magic show? We have no time to attend because now we have other duties. P.C. Sarkar smiled and said, my magic act has already begun. Look at your watches. They looked at their watch. It was 4:01. P.C. Sarkar hypnotized the whole assembly into believing that 1 hour, into 1 minute to be 1 hour. Only 1 minute had passed by actually. But they were under the illusion, they were hypnotized to such an extent that they thought it's 1 hour. All of them, unanimously. It's a real story. P.C. Sarkar was known for his magic. He was terrific. An assembly of 1,000 people were hypnotized. They thought it's 5 o'clock, but when they actually saw the watch, it was just 4:01. And he said, my act has already begun.
Who is his teacher?
I don't know who is called this.
Why did they not check the time before? Did he like switch the time?
Well, hypnotism is something wherein like they have full control over you. You have no idea what's happening.
So you don't like.
You think you don't know you are hypnotized.
But
For example, if I hypnotize you, I can say walk right, you will walk right. Walk left, walk left. Go and jump in the ocean, you will jump in the ocean. You have no idea what you're doing. But I have full control over you. So he, without even coming there, hypnotized thousands of people into believing that 1 hour or 1 minute was actually 1 hour.
But he can't control time.
Well, that is so hypnotism. Well, he didn't control time. He controlled the minds of the people.
I know, that bothers me.
He didn't control time. He controlled the minds of the people. Actually, it was only 1 minute had passed by. They were under the illusion that it's 1 hour. Now, these are two real stories.
Is that it?
That's it. So now, that's it. This is not as scary as the previous one. Now I have a question for you.
Which time is best?
Huh?
How much time has passed?
Don't worry, I have not hypnotized you all. It's 4:50. So now I have a very last question for you all. If that magician 500 years back can die at the same time be alive, and if P.C. Sarkar can do magic and hypnotize the whole assembly, can Krishna not do magic? Can Krishna not do magic? He can. If these mere mortals of this world can die and do a fake death and convince the king that he is dead and then still be alive, and the kids are playing, the wife is making chapati and this guy is welcoming. If he can do it, and if PC Sarkar can do it, you think Krishna cannot do it? Well, he can. Because Krishna says, Aham sarvasva prabhava, everything emanates from me, everything comes from me. If someone is intelligent, I am the source of intelligence. If someone is strong, I am the source of their strength. If someone is a magician, I am the source of their magic tricks. So if these people can do it, Krishna can definitely do it. So this pastime of Krishna disappearing from this world is called as Indrajal. Vishwanath Chakravarti calls it as Indrajal. Jal in Hindi means a trap. This pastime is a trap for everyone who does not know the real identity of Krishna. For someone who thinks Krishna is a mere mortal, Krishna says, okay, I died. But for devotees who know about Vishwanath Chakravarti, will say, no, Krishna, you didn't die. I have read the pastime. I know, and this is Indrajal. You are trying to trick. You didn't die, you just did a fake death. Krishna pranked a death. If we can do pranks, Krishna is the greatest prankster. Everything comes from Krishna. Krishna pranked a death. What happened? What happened? So Krishna pranked a death. Now various things were achieved from all the 4 discussions that we had. First thing, Durvasa Muni's curse for the Yaduvamshas were done. Because now Krishna had disappeared, Samba had also disappeared. Because the curse was done. Samba had gone, Krishna left, all the Yaduvamshas were done. So Durvasa's first curse was done. Second, Krishna showed the world the law of karma. Because previous incarnation Ram shot the arrow, next incarnation Vali came as the hunter and shot the arrow. So Krishna is teaching the world karma exists. Third thing, Durvasa's benediction to Krishna, that 12 o'clock night, kheer, pulling, that pastime, Krishna again showed to the world that when a pure devotee blesses or curses, that becomes true. Durvasa is a pure devotee, he is Lord Shiva. So Krishna, keeping his words, was shot at the feet. And the last and most important point. Did Krishna die? No, Krishna faked his death. It is called Indrajal. Vishwanath Chakravarti calls it Indrajal. It's a trap. Now I have a question. Why did Krishna do this? Why did Krishna disappear like this? He could have gone in any way. Why did he disappear like this? Like if you see in the pastime of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the way Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left this world is he merged into the deity of Tota Gopinath in Jagannath Puri. Mahaprabhu went running and merged into the deity and never came out. Nityananda Prabhu went running, went into the deity of Bankim Rai and never came out. Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu went into the deities and never came out. But Krishna didn't do it that way. Krishna faked the death. Now my question is, why did Krishna do it? Krishna could also have done like this. Why did Krishna do it this way? Yes, please.
Well, I heard in a lecture once that Krishna faked his death because this material world is there to like fulfill like the desires of all the living entities. So when like living entities came down, like those who desire to be like those who desire to say, oh, Krishna died, so he's not really God, they must get their wish fulfilled. So he faked his death so that those people could get their desire.
Absolutely, 100% right. Very 100% right. Krishna did this on purpose to make bhakti a very rare commodity. If Krishna went into the deity, everyone will get to know that Krishna is Bhagavan, then everyone will worship him. But Krishna wants to trick people and prove that no, if you think I'm a mere mortal, yes, I'm a mere mortal. But those who have read Vishwanath Chakravarti will say, Krishna, even though you disappeared this way, I know you are Bhagavan. So Krishna wants to make bhakti a very, very, very rare thing. And as she said, wants only those people who are very qualified amidst him. You know, in the US you have MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and in India you have Indian Institute of Technology. Now to get into these universities, the exam is like very difficult. You have to be like really very intelligent to get into these universities. if to get into this university, the test is so difficult and you have to be so qualified to get to Krishna's kingdom, wouldn't it? I mean, how can you expect the test to be easy? Or how can we expect that even those who are unqualified can get Krishna? Just like these exams, you have to be qualified. You have to study the whole semester, go and give the exams, and then you pass. Similarly, you have to study the whole human life, practice the whole human life. At the time of death, if you remember Krishna, we go back to Krishna. Because if you have practiced the whole life, we are qualified. Then we get Krishna. But someone who has not practiced, someone who has just wasted, Krishna is not there for them. So through this pastime actually, Krishna made bhakti a very rare commodity. Now, my last arrow. In the start, I said we are going to speak about Bhagavad Gita. You all remember? Yeah. We said mysteries of Bhagavad Gita. Did we touch Bhagavad Gita anywhere? Did we ever touch Bhagavad Gita? Did I even say Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita? I didn't touch, right? Now comes the last trump card. Whatever we discussed was actually Bhagavad Gita. The 1.5 hour discussion was actually Bhagavad Gita. You want to know how? Krishna in the 4th chapter, the 9th verse, he says, Janma karma chame divyam. He says, my birth and my activities are transcendental. This is Krishna's activity. What we discussed was less than 1/4 of that verse. Krishna says, my birth and my activity is transcendental. We discussed the activity being transcendental. Isn't it transcendental? He didn't die, he just faked, he pranked, and that's transcendence. So what we discussed was less than 1/4 of the verse, and this is Bhagavad Gita. And then you have 700 verses. We didn't even complete that verse. Not even the first line. We just did karma chame divyam. Then you have janma. Then you have the next 3 lines. And then you have 700 verses.
Wait, is there a passage for like every word?
Every verse, there is hidden interpretation. For every single verse. That is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So now do we still think Bhagavad Gita is boring? No. Is it philosophical? It's so fun. It is so fun. Thank you. It is so fun. Yes. Bhagavad Gita is really fun. When you hear it from the lips of predecessor acharyas, it is real fun. It is real fun. Bhagavad Gita is not boring. Take this thing off your head. I hope it's off your head. Every verse can be interpreted this way. With this, we'll wrap up our discussion. Shri Krishna Bhagavan ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Indrajal ki, Jai.